Hello everybody and welcome to Paragade After Hours, a podcast where we talk about nerdy shit, video game shit, and usually some form of gay shit. That just seems to be the modus operandi of this. This is a supersized one. I am joined by...
Mael, hello.
Tasha, hello.
And Chris.
And yeah, so these are our good friends. We've bonded together in a moment of crisis long ago in the vampire times, like back in 2014, where we decided, like, hey, it's a good idea to go ahead and stream for charity, and we got like 50 people watching at one time, which is a fucking achievement.
Very nice.
And
when nobody's ever heard of you.
Yeah.
and when nobody's ever heard of you, and we streamed Sonic 06. And
As you do.
and we tried our best to do it for 24 consecutive hours.
We failed on that part.
We failed in that part, but we beat the game. We beat the game.
And our heart was in it.
Yeah,
so
and I want to
that's...
say we had people from Crestview, Florida, Troy, Alabama, as well as
England.
Yeah.
England. I'm not sure where,
but yeah,
but yeah, England. I'm still friends with him on
nice.
on Steam.
Yeah, same. Flying Turnip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's been a hot minute since I've.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So we figured that, it would be fun to bring our friends in on this so that we could discuss Sonic
And Star Wars.
Yeah, just because, I think that all of us really bond over those two particular things. One out of fear, out of pure regret and
Out of
rage,
pure, like, PTSD,
PTSD, and the
we
other
came from the Great Sonic Wars of 2014.
Yeah, and the other one out of happiness because we all really love Star Wars.
We all love Star Wars, but before we do that, let us go ahead and tell the audience what we are drinking this week.
So we are having some homemade sweet tea and some Japanese whiskey for those of us who are inclined to drink whiskey.
So, yeah, some good old Akashi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't usually chase things, but the tea after the whiskey is yummy.
Oh, yeah.
It works.
It works.
Good chaser.
So let's go ahead and start off with a topic that's near and dear to our hearts in many different ways. Sonic the Hedgehog. And this is going to be a question I'm going to pose to all of you, and myself included. What does Sonic mean to you? What does the blue blur mean to you in some way or form?
Well, most recently it's just been memes. But it's been a while.
Yeah.
So.
Sonic goes really, really back with me. Yeah, before I even really played video games, I always used to just watch my brother play video games all the time. And one of I think it was Sonic, it was either Sonic 3 or Sonic and Knuckles, which, I know is the same thing, but it was when he was playing it on the Sega Genesis. I was probably 5 or 6 years old at the time. And he'd play it straight through. He'd play it straight through because there's no, at that point, the battery had already died in the cartridge.
Yeah.
So every single time you reset it, it would reset the whole entire game. So no memory. You'd have to play it straight through. And I remember it was one Sunday night before school. I can't remember if it was kindergarten or first grade. But he was playing Sonic and Knuckles. And I remember watching him periodically throughout the whole entire day, and it's time for me to go to bed.
Yeah.
It's like, no. It's 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Ooh, stayed up late.
Yeah, 10 o'clock p.m.
Oh my God.
For a kindergartner. Yeah, that was late. That was late. And I remember seeing him with Tails and the airplane.
Yeah.
At the very end of Sonic and Knuckles.
Oh.
And he beats the game, and it's just...
It fills, like, your heart with nostalgia and just, like, this sort of shared sense of accomplishment of, like, man, I at least saw that.
At least I got to experience some of it.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, actually, I actually just found out that game was Sonic and Knuckles. I actually thought it was Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I thought it was Sonic the Hedgehog 2 until I was I downloaded Sonic and Knuckles on my phone.
Yeah.
And I just played through all of that and beat it, and I'm like, it just took me back.
You're just like, I remember all of this.
It did. It took me back.
Oh man.
I remember because I was playing through the last couple levels, which was the desert levels, and took me back to the Sonic 06 desert levels. And
took you back to a dark place.
I loved playing that run through.
I loved playing that run through, specifically with all you guys. But it's like, if I were to go back and play by myself, I think I'd shoot myself.
You could never do that by yourself.
You know, minus the Final Fantasy type graphics and falling in love with Sonic and resurrecting Sonic. I actually think that game was pretty good, minus all the bugginess. If you take the
if you just redo the game,
if you take everything about that game,
I am all about a 3D Sonic game if it's good, which is sparse,
which is very sparse
for me at least.
Oh God!
And so speaking of 3D Sonic, so for me, I was a Nintendo kid through and through.
Mm-hmm.
I did not even know that the Genesis existed when I was a little kid. All I knew was Nintendo, and that was it. So my first experience with Sonic was GameCube and getting Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. And that was a whole new world, and mainly just because I liked Chow Garden. And so, it really, like, when I think about Sonic, I think about the good times I spent playing that game, because when I was a kid, I didn't know any better. That game was phenomenal, and I got really good at it, and I'm still pretty good at it, but definitely going back, anytime I go back and play that game, I'm like, wow, this was a buggy mess, which is what most 3D Sonic games are.
There seems to be a theme.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's just one of those things that like the Chow Garden was just so much fun, and so I think when I think Sonic, I just think about little babies,
little cute babies,
with little bouncy balls on their heads.
And that was always so weird about the Adventure series. Was like, here's this virtual pet, and here are the stages where you can take care of this virtual pet. So in other words, the stages filled this horrible feedback loop of like, here's these 1 or 2 good stages, and you're going to play these stages until ad infinitum, because we gave you an emotional attachment. We gave you a child.
Yeah, you have to take care of this child by getting things in these stages. So you got really good at, like, 3 or 4 stages, and so when you play the game, when you remember like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, you remember the best stages because you played those so many times. You got A rank in everything in those stages. Everything else you got D rank because you were terrible at this game.
Oh my god.
Yeah, once again, Sonic Adventures 2. Sort of involving my brother again.
Yeah.
My brother would always go to the Blue Water Bay orthodontists.
Oh yeah.
And the Blue Water Bay orthodontist
dentist office.
And the Blue Water Bay orthodontist always had 3 game systems available. One of which was Sonic Adventures 2.
Yeah.
And I would always play Sonic Adventures 2 while he's getting like braces worked up.
Oh
yeah.
My god.
They had Sonic Adventures 2 and Harry Potter.
Yeah. I remember Harry Potter.
Yeah, that was the funniest thing, was very specifically that orthodontist had game consoles in the waiting room.
So you had like a blue hedgehog, and then you had a very special boy, like a truly special boy. And I mean, it's entirely up to you as to which one is which, honestly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what about you, Joe?
Oh god. So my exposure to the Sonic the Hedgehog was actually not through like the Genesis. My dad, he actually procured like the PC port of Sonic 3, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and Sonic R.
Oh, what year did you play this?
I played it like 1999. So it was like on a Windows 98 computer, and like this port, like it was a decent port. It was actually very good. Like, this was back in a time where it's like, you don't really think about this, but it's just like, I remember after that, like, you had like the Sonic Hits collection or something like that. That came on like GameCube, and I'm like, oh, this reminds me of the PC. And So that was my exposure to that, and I remember the CD also had like a bunch of wallpapers of like different Sonic art, which I'm fairly certain it's like if you go on like the internet you can probably find this. But that part of me is like I'm thinking like I never really gone to look for this, so I wonder if that's like a secret find or something like that. But yeah, it's obviously like Sonic Adventure was kind of like my favorite games of the series because the fucking Chow Garden. And then City Escape and Radical Highway are just like pure masterpieces of just like this makes me feel fast.
Always.
Rolling around at the speed of sound.
It was so good. And like Radical Highway from the first Sonic Adventure where it's like you had like the really thumping like techno music going on in the background. It was so fucking rad. And then recently this year, or not this year, past year, Sonic Mania comes out. And playing that game was so weird because I'm just kind of like I'm being transported back to the PC era, and it's so funny that you mentioned bugginess because despite Sonic Mania still being fantastic, I cannot use the home button in that game.
Oh.
Yeah. So
it just don't work.
Now, what are you playing Sonic Mania on? Is it only for Switch or is it for PC as well?
It's for PC. It's for Xbox and PS4.
Uh-huh.
But for Switch, for whatever reason, they have like this home button glitch. I don't know if they fixed it. It's been a while since I've touched it on the Switch, but it was like for whatever reason, you try to press the home button, it's like, what's a home button? It's like
this button doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I haven't played Sonic Mania yet.
Yeah.
I've watched my friend Morgan play it. And again, unfortunately, I don't have a Nintendo Switch yet. I'm waiting a couple months until I get the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
But that's when I'm going to start playing Sonic Mania. Is once I get the Switch. Yes, I have a PS4. Yes, I have a PC. But I'm gonna play it on the Switch.
Yeah, but
it feels appropriate.
If you're given the chance to play it on a portable device, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because like the majority of which I played it was like during fucking Hurricane Irma. And then the other portion of it was like driving up to Dragon Con and just sitting in like the passenger seat just being like, I'm gonna play Knuckles, and then I unlocked the and Knuckles mode, so you choose Knuckles and then you choose and Knuckles, so you play as Knuckles and Knuckles.
Yeah. So we decided to go to Toys R Us today because of the clearance sales because they're going out of business, and we saw a literal Knuckles and Knuckles action figure set. Because it was the 3D Knuckles and classic Knuckles action figures.
Yes.
And so I was just like, Joe, look, Knuckles and Knuckles.
And I had to battle that urge to buy that for the joke. I was like, oh.
Just for the joke.
Oh my god.
No one else will understand
it's so hard not to buy.
I will.
Yeah. It's so hard not to buy anything in that store with all the discounts that they have going on.
It really is. Oh my god. Toys R Us, man.
Yeah.
But so far, it's so weird because I mean, like, Sonic has kind of established itself as like this weird, not like ironic joke at this point. Like, you look at the Sonic Twitter and it's just like it's not edgy, but it's just kind of snarky at itself.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh hey, we made Sonic Forces, and it's like, oh, what are you gonna do with Sonic Forces? It's like, we're gonna let you make your own OC, and everybody's like, why? Why would you give us that power? And like
Sonic OCs.
Oh my god.
Did you ever do that challenge where it was like Google your name, like the Hedgehog afterwards, and just to see what would come up, and it was like, what's some quality?
Let's go ahead and do that right now.
Yeah, so we're all gonna look up on Google. We're gonna look up and see who we are as a hedgehog, or just as a Sonic character. If we come up with something different,
Oh my god.
So what do we say? First name and last name, or just
the first name?
The Hedgehog.
Oh,
I see.
All right.
Goodness.
Mine is quality. I am like straight out of the 80s, green and pink fur.
That is some deviant art.
Absolutely love.
You're
so Green Day.
edgy.
Oh,
Green Day.
So edgy.
So Chris the Hedgehog is a very edgy boy. He's
I love
got
it.
some.
He's got some glasses.
He's a black hedgehog with glasses and blue tips.
He's wearing a suit.
He kind of has
He's
that.
got earrings on.
Kind of has that Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day
like
look.
4 earrings in there. Wow.
Oh my god. Like, yours looks like straight out of Sonic Underground, like that horrible deep, like TV show.
Yep, I got the pink ponytails.
Oh God! After this, we got to talk about the TV shows.
Oh gosh.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
it's been forever since I've seen Sonic.
I will listen. I will do my best to paint a beautiful mind picture for you guys.
Hedgehog.
Now, when I looked up Mael the Hedgehog, instead I got Manic the Hedgehog.
From Sonic Underground. Look at you.
Yeah. So Mael the Hedgehog doesn't quite exist.
But for me, Joe.
Oh wait!
Did you get one?
Esmael the Hedgehog,
Oh.
which is an MS Paint boy.
Good.
He's got some tails, some tails.
So here is mine. I'm just gonna go ahead and open image in a new tab there. All right. So apparently I got big poofy hair.
You look like an emo.
It's red. I got a turtleneck.
Got a turtleneck. A teal turtleneck.
I'm not sure if I have a nose.
I don't think you do.
I don't think I do.
You got those emo bangs.
I got the emo bangs, dude. Like, this is quality right now.
Sonic OCs, I think, are my favorite.
They are.
They're my favorite things.
And I'm so glad that at least in Sonic Forces, like, they made it so that, like, you know, it's actually just a doll creator. And they also make it where you could just give him, like, the dead-eyed stare of just, like,
Yeah. So you know, I think for all of us, Sonic is... It's a fun time, and a goofy time, and a weird time.
Yeah.
It's a fun,
All
goofy
of the
time.
above.
Oh, also, this is kind of random.
Yes.
So back in high school,
Yeah.
my ringtone was always the ring sound. If you go into a Tom Thumb,
Yeah.
or pretty much any gas
That's
station,
right!
It's
the cash
same
register
sound when
It's-
they ring something else.
it's the same thing.
It's
Yeah.
the ring sound.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and for the uninformed, Tom Thumb is the southern gas station.
It's the
of
Southern
America.
7-Eleven.
It is.
Yeah,
Yes.
It is.
There-
The southern, the
In
Florida
areas, in areas where there is no 7-Eleven, there
There's
is
a
a
Tom
Tom Thumb.
Yes. So, okay. Oh god, yes, that show with the naked squirrel girl.
Naked Squirrel Girl.
Alright, so Sonic the Hedgehog, wait.
I never watched this.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah. There. Then for a lot of us, there was Fox in a Box that showed off the
Sonic X!
Sonic X and
Oh my
the Sonic
God.
the Hedgehog cartoon shows. And we all remember those fondly because they were probably terrible looking back on them now.
I mean, okay.
Did not age well.
So, like, at the 1990s, where Sonic was voiced by Urkel, which is already just kind of a bad sign. Like, you're just
Really?
kind of... Yeah, he
Yeah.
was voiced by Urkel.
No way.
Yes,
Let me see
I
this.
swear to G. I swear.
No, you know, now that you say that, it makes so much sense.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. See.
So, yeah, it was voiced by Urkel. It was a weird, like, post-apocalyptic sort
Oh,
of
yeah.
premise.
You're right.
It was like, you know, like Dr. Robotnik has industrialized, like, all the world. It turns out capitalism was wrong the entire time. And forest, eco-terrorist characters had to go and battle Dr. Robotnik.
You know, I just love that there is a video that's called A Conversation with Jali White, the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog. And I'm like, I'm sorry, is he really most known for being the
Is
voice
that
of
what
Sonic
he's
the
known
Hedgehog?
for?
Are you sure? Are you sure Urkel? Urkel is most known for that. I'm sorry, Jaleel White.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But, like, there was that, and then right around the same time, you had Sonic Underground, which had the same premise, which was like, oh, but instead of forest creatures, Sonic has a family. And then then they also took care of, like, a baby hedgehog that, like, it had, like, little beady eyes, but it still had, like, the weird, like, eyebrow thing that
Let's
helped.
see.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Wow.
These shows were...
These shows came out at, like, 6 a.m.
Yeah, so you had to really actually get up early in the morning to watch
Yeah.
these shows.
And not only were you fortunate enough to see Sonic Underground, Sonic the Hedgehog, but you were fortunate enough to see Mario.
Yes. The Super Mario Brothers Super Show. Oh, god damn. I feel like this could be like a whole episode just talking about bad video game shows.
Yeah.
Just bad video game
Yeah,
media adaptations.
I will say it is funny because Joe, you probably remember this conversation during Thanksgiving. My family, we talked about the fact that my brothers actually would get up in the morning to watch the Super Mario Brothers show, and my mom remembered that. But we were watching the actual the Zelda show because the Zelda show is so bad, it's so good to rewatch now.
Excuse me, princess.
Yeah, and my mom had no recollection of this, so my brother was explaining that like it was the less popular cousin of the Super Mario Bros. Show.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that show. It fixed the how Link carries all the items by just shrinking all of them and putting it in a bag.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just really funny that like my brothers also like fondly remember these obviously terrible shows that they look back on now and they're like, yeah, these shows were bad. The Super Mario Brothers show was terrible. The Sonic shows were goofy as all get out. But they hold such a special place in our hearts because the games themselves were so important to who we were and our identity, especially as kids and growing up now, that like having an external media was so good.
It was so validating.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, this is real.
Yeah.
This is real. It exists.
It's like when we were kids and, we loved the Pokemon games so much that we had to have the Pokedex books, right?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Physical books.
In those scholastic fucking fair books. And
Yeah.
then you're just like, yo, this is where I get the Pokedex. This is where it is.
It's real.
Oh, my God.
That's the thing, is that I think, thinking about this and thinking about the fact that for us as people who grew up in the 90s, we, and we cherish these things. And I think a lot of people who also grew up in the 80s cherished these sacred, these hard to find external things outside of the video games, like the Pokedex and the cartoon shows that only came on really early on Saturday mornings. How do you think it's like different from now, where kids just grow up with their video games being everywhere, with Minecraft being available in every media possible and being able, you can pick it up at Walmart and pick up all the different toys at Walmart,
Yeah, it's a lot different because like growing up when everything wasn't readily available, like if you were into something you had to like seek it out.
Yeah,
like,
or you had to know.
You had to wake up early to see those TV shows because they were not coming on any other time of day. You didn't have the internet. You couldn't just pull up the video on YouTube. Like, if you wanted those, trading cards, you had to go to the specific Toys R Us that had those trading cards. Like, it was a lot of effort you put into the things that you enjoyed.
Yeah. And especially, like, nowadays, it's just that, like, it kind of goes in part with, like, the sort of, I hate to say it, but the Ready Player One-ness of, like, this era where it's kind of like, being nerd is in vogue. And that's great for a lot of reasons, just because it makes these sort of, like, things, like, less hard to come by, and also makes it more socially acceptable to be like, I'm super into this creative thing, and I'm super into this, and I want to share this. Of course, like, like, we've talked so much about, like, the backlash of, like, just, like, super, like, I'm gonna call them traditionalist nerds, of just, like, it's like, no, this is my shit, and it's just kind of like, I'm more than happy to see, like, the fucking hardcover, like, Minecraft at, like, Walmart, and now this kid, like, back in my day, I shit my pants when I saw that there was a Sonic action figure at Toys R Us, because I was like, I'm never gonna see this again, I need this right now. So, like, it's so cool now, because now it gives, like, a lot of kids, like, this, I feel like this outlet that we never had, where it's just kind of like, I'm surrounded by people that like the same things that I like, and we can connect over this, and just to open, like, these new forms of communication, and also kind of help our, like, media evolve and get better, just because you bring in so many new ideas by, just being more open, and it's like, it's like you kind of give yourself a disservice by being so closed off sometimes. I mean, I have exceptions. Like, Dark Souls is one of my exceptions, where I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's okay being niche.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Or Gundam, it's like, it's okay being niche sometimes. But it's like, but at the same time, like, things like Monster Hunter, things like, Pokemon, Minecraft, it's only served them much better to have these people come in and be like, here's my take on Pokemon, or here's my take on Minecraft. And it just made this media evolve in a way that just never would have happened in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see.
Yeah.
Like, just how accessible things are now compared to, as you were growing up.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a certain kind of sacredness that we could cherish when we could get those special trading cards.
Right.
You know, we were able to trek out to the specific Toys R Us to get the specific action figure, the specific trading cards. There was something monumental there when we were able to achieve that back in the 90s. But also, it's so fantastic now that we can just go to the closest Walmart, the closest Target, and get these amazing things, and that other people can experience it too. So it's like, it's just happy all around, because we have these awesome memories of Sonic, of these awesome memories of these cartoon shows, but also nowadays people can just experience it in a much easier way, so much more accessible.
And not to mention on the flip side, but also positive side of that, is that all these kids now, be them 5 years old or even 15 years old or whatever, what have you, they're growing up. These kids are growing up with a specific version of, let's go back and say Minecraft again.
Right.
They're growing up with a specific version of Minecraft that's going to be held dear to their hearts.
Yeah.
And who knows that maybe in 20 years they're going to be making podcasts about talking about how some Minecraft games suck now.
Yeah.
Or how they always have this cherished memory of a very blocky Minecraft game. Because who knows how Minecraft is going to evolve. I don't play Minecraft. I've never played Minecraft.
Right.
I might do it someday, but all I know is that there are a lot of people, and especially a lot of younger kids, that love Minecraft. And they can play their Minecraft, they can go get their Minecraft backpack, then get all of these things until eventually they'll grow out of them.
Yeah.
And they'll move on to other things. And then eventually they will remember them once again and be very nostalgic about it, just as we are right now.
Just as we are. And I remember, like, the one point we were bringing up when talking about Zelda is, like, when Breath of the Wild comes out, and this is going to be a lot of people's just first Zelda. Like, this is their benchmark.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just going to be, like, that's going to be such a... It's gonna be such a hard benchmark to just, like, get over for, like, them afterwards. It's like, for us, like, as just, like, millennials just growing up, we're like, we grew up with Majora's Mask, we grew up with, like, Wind Waker.
Like, that was the benchmark.
That was the benchmark.
Could not go...
I remember... My brother did not want Donkey Kong 64.
Oh, wow.
He didn't want Donkey Kong 64. Well, he didn't know anything about it. What he wanted was Majora's Mask, but he couldn't play Majora's Mask without the external RAM card that would go into the N64, which came with Donkey Kong 64. Next thing you know, he loves both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that, like, I think especially for, say, like, our older brothers, they, their thing was definitely, like, the Super NES or, like, things older than that. And I think especially for our little subset, our little subset of millennials is, like, the Nintendo 64 was everything. And, like, remembering Majora's Mask fondly and Ocarina of Time fondly, like, Chris, you and I have bonded over our love for those two games specifically. And we cherished those games and those memories of playing those games together, that, like, now that we're older, we're like, I have to have that original cartridge, that
the original gold cartridge,
the
original one with, like, the little, like, what was it, that fucking, you tilt it back and forth,
the holographic,
the holographic one.
Yeah.
Oh god, oh my god.
And I still have my gold Majora's Mask. I don't have the gold Ocarina of Time.
I mean, that's fair.
Well, I may or may not have acquired the gold Ocarina of Time recently because it popped up in one of the local game stores.
Very nice.
Like 2 years ago, and I saw it in the display box, and I'm like, this is gonna be gone within the next 3 hours, and if it's not me, it's gonna be someone else. I'm taking this. Hello.
One of these days, and it's a matter of me going on eBay and purchasing it.
Right.
Is actually just purchasing the original Ocarina of Time with the black and white intro, with the original score.
Oh yeah, with
everything.
Yes.
Yeah, the original,
changed.
the version 1.0.
Yes.
Oh god, like, man, and that's the other thing is like, okay, like kind of going on the topic about like, you know, kids nowadays who kind of experience this. Wow, we've made a journey going from
Kids
Sonic to kids these days.
Kids these days.
So going back to that is like, you know, a lot of games nowadays, like their version 1.0, like it's gonna be lost. Like they're like, honestly, like a lot of things about like video game preservation and stuff is like, you know, version 1.0.
Yeah, you're right.
Of like Breath of the Wild, that's gone.
Yeah.
They will never be able to experience that unless they somehow procure like a game cartridge and just don't connect it to the internet.
Nobody will ever experience 1.0 of No Man's Sky.
Oh my god!
I
don't know that
Chris, I think that will be for the better. I think we all
wants to
benefit.
do
We all
that.
benefit as a society by not
Oh my god!
ever
Like,
experiencing that.
But
Anyway.
Had to throw that out there.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. And, you know, it's like, then a lot of people will go ahead and play the current version of No Man's Sky, or the version of No Man's Sky that's out, like, 10 years from now. And I'll be like, I don't understand why people thought this game sucked. And then they're going to be like, I mean, it's not great, but it doesn't look like it sucks. And then they're going to be like, and then you're going to have people like me like, you weren't there! You weren't there on launch day!
Back in my day.
You don't understand the hype.
Oh my god. And it's like, yes, you'll have those records. You'll have the records of the hype, but it's like, you know, you'll come back to this and it'll be like, what are they talking about? What are they talking about? And it's like, dude, I have video footage. Yeah, but it plays better now. I don't care!
It doesn't matter.
Oh my god.
But you were very right. I've never thought about that. Just people never being able to experience version 1.0 of anything now these days. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of ROM creating community out there that will preserve 1.0s, especially with speedrunning being the large community that it is.
Yeah.
A lot of games in the community require 1.0 or, you know, a certain version in order to get like the fastest speed run.
Right.
So I think for a lot of games there might be preservation of that in ROMs and you know, bootleg versions.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a lot of games, we'll never see 1.0 again. And maybe that's for the best, like in the case of No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
But, you know, historically, it might be a loss.
It's weird because it's like, you know, we got into the topic of like video games being art, and we got into the topic of like, you know, these things being kind of like an art form. It's the same thing of like, you know, Star Wars, which this is going to be a wonderful segue.
I'm ready.
It's only a wonderful segue if you don't point it out.
So anyway, with Star Wars, like, you know, the fact that like the original versions with like, you know, all the effects that they had back in the 70s, like, you know, a lot of times like people won't be able to experience that.
Yeah.
Like, you only have the special editions that George Lucas tampered with, and he gave us
Yeah,
that.
you can't get the original theater releases.
You can't. And like, that is a wonderful place to segue into and to take a quick 5-minute break.
Yes.
We'll be right back. Not in actually 5 minutes. It'll be a second for you guys, but it'll be 5 minutes for us because one of us has got to pee.
Oh, 2 of us have to pee. Don't worry.
Oh, you guys are going to have to fight.
So we'll be right
One
back.
man enter, 2 men enter, 1 man leave.
And we're back, rolling in like BB-8 on the sands there.
Right.
So anyway, Star Wars. We all love Star Wars here. I love Star Wars. I particularly love Star Wars. It's very, very, very apparent. But anyway, so that being said, I guess kind of the same question that we discussed about, like, Sonic at the beginning. What does Star Wars mean to all of you here?
That's, I feel like, a more loaded question.
Isn't
Quite
it?
a loaded question.
Yeah.
I remember this. So, we always had a recorded VHS of the original Star Wars trilogy in the 1997.
Was that one of your dad's bootlegs?
Yes, that was one of my dad's bootlegs. Yes, my
His
dad
bootlegged VHSs from
My-
Blockbuster.
Yeah, my dad used to go to Blockbuster, and he had a second VCR. He'd tape over the little square thing, and he'd copy the movies over, and that's how he would bootleg. It's a little different than torrenting.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned pirate right
Old-fashioned pirate.
Anywho, so we had this old recorded VHS, and I'd watch that. I love it. I didn't understand Star Wars back then.
Right.
I was too young. I was 5, 6 years old, but I still enjoyed it. And then my dad got the 1997 remastered edition.
Yeah.
Big trilogy. Watched that, same thing. Didn't really, I didn't appreciate it because I was too young to appreciate it. Then I remember he bought Star Wars Episode 1, same thing there. But then we saw Star Wars Episode 2.
Yeah.
We saw, which is technically the worst one.
Yes.
It's technically by far the worst one, but it is still extremely sentimental to me. Because, one, I saw it in movie theaters with my dad.
Yeah.
And I remember when we finally got it, it's just those precious nostalgic memories as before, is that I remember we would just sit on the couch watching Star Wars with a bag of chips, maybe some popcorn. The curtains would be closed.
Yeah.
It's dark. It's like a movie theater. It's on a crappy bulb TV with crappy sound, but it meant the world to me.
Yes.
Because I was spending it with my dad, and I loved it.
That's good.
And that's how Star Wars started off with me.
See, I never got to see the prequel trilogy, like, in theaters. Like, I never saw any of them until, like, later when they were all out on DVD. But, like, after that, like, for me, it was a lot of, like, just the entire universe that was built there. Like, and I went so deep into the lore and the extended universe at the time. Like, the movies, like, stopped meaning as much to me. It was more of, like, this is a thing. Like, it's a giant thing. And I'm like, I want to be a part of that giant thing.
Yeah.
That, like, all of these people have worked to create and to collaborate on. I'm like, I want to do that.
Like, I want to
Put
contribute
me
to
in
this.
that.
Yeah. Like, I want to be a part of this. I want like a little bit of like I want to imprint myself upon this universe because it means that much to me.
Like, get me in there.
Yes.
Yeah. So, my dad was a super nerd and still is a super nerd.
You don't say.
Yeah. The man that started playing video games in the family and, got my brothers and me into it and now plays Kerbal Space Program on his time off. And I'm not even kidding. He always loved Star Wars and Star Trek equally, and so pretty much I grew up with him just always rewatching those movies or rewatching like the TV shows of Star Trek and whatnot. And so then when the prequels were announced, that was a big deal. And I remember T-Mobile had a huge giveaway contest for tickets to see episode 1, and that was a big frickin' deal. And we won that contest at like the screening of episode 1.
Nice.
And we were so hype. It was so great. We had got free swag going in.
Oh, man.
And I think at the time we all pretty much enjoyed it, or at least I enjoyed it because I don't remember how old I was.
Yeah.
But I was young enough not to know
not to know any better.
Yeah, not to know any better. What I knew was that the choreography of those fight scenes was hype as fuck.
Yeah.
That the pod racing was hype as fuck.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked Jar Jar Binks.
As a child,
As a child, you kind of do.
Yeah.
I still have somewhere in this room right now a Jar Jar Binks toy. a stuffed animal, a stuffed Jar Jar Binks that was given to me by my mother.
Do we? Oh, there it is. It's the Tsum Tsum.
Yes, I have a Jar Jar Binks Tsum Tsum and a Jar Jar Binks Lego keychain that I still hold near and dear to my heart. I understand that the character is racist. I'm well aware, but I just it was fun as a kid.
And it's meant to be fun as a kid.
Yeah.
In Return of the Jedi, we had the Ewoks.
Yes.
In The Last Jedi, we had the, what are they called?
Porgs.
The Porgs. Yeah, we have the Porgs. We have Jar Jar Binks. And yeah, we grew up with Jar Jar Binks. I like Jar Jar Binks too. Do I find JarJar Binks a bit annoying now? Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Is the character perhaps problematic in some ways? Yeah. But also he became quiet and smart and became a member of the Senate. So I mean,
who then set us down the path of disestablishing democracy and then going into a police state ruled by the equivalent of then Galaxy Donald Trump.
You know, I was going to say was, anyone can dream big, and anyone can
dismantle democracy.
Anyone can dismantle democracy.
I was gonna go with the you can do anything spiel, but I mean if we're gonna go there, I'm
sorry, but I had to.
I guess so, Joe.
Some people are a little salty.
Yeah, in all seriousness, Emma's right.
Yeah.
Things like Jar Jar, things like and concepts like that in movies really teach us that we really can take over the world and really just destroy it, and we can become an emperor and make an empire and really just cause chaos.
I mean, dream big, kids. You too can wield an electric lightsaber,
a laser sword.
Laser sword.
If you learned any lessons from Star Wars, especially the last one, The Last Jedi, is that kill your teacher.
Yes.
Take his place.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
And robots should be sassy and cool.
Always.
And
porgs are the best.
Yeah, porgs are the best.
So, all right. Let me go ahead and get all waxy and nostalgic here. Let me grab my glass of whiskey. Let me go ahead and take Dad Joe position here.
All right.
So a young Joe was introduced to Star Wars by his dad, and this was actually before they released Episode 1. Dad was like our local movie theaters were re-showing like the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And Dad was like, you're like 4 years old. I'm like, and he's like, you need to experience this. I'm like,
okay.
So, so he takes me to see this movie, and of course, young baby Joe has no grasp over the plot. He just knows that Obi-Wan looks like a cool dude. Luke Skywalker also kind of looks like a cool dude. The X-Wings were fucking rad. And Darth Vader was black, and it was a really dark movie theater, and back then we didn't have good projectors, so I didn't know what the fuck I was looking at. So I was just kind of like, he's the bad guy? Yeah. What does he look like? Here's the toy. That's what he looks like?
What?
So, Obi-Wan was always my favorite character, and then when he, died in, the movie, again, the young Joe had no grasp over this, because then it's just oh, you're gonna watch, Empire Strikes Back. And I remember, the fucking, the land speeder scene where they are going around with the fucking AT-AT walker, and then right after that it's here's Return of the Jedi, and it's Ewoks, fuck yeah, and it's oh, here's Boba Fett, oh, he looks cool, and after that it's oh, did Luke get electrocuted? Okay, and then right after that Episode 1 comes out, and I'm like, oh, that's Obi. Why does he have less gray hair? I don't get this. This is weird. And then Dad rented an N64, and this is where, my formative experience, kind of like how you, Tasha, kind of got exposed to the expanded universe. When Dad rented the N64, he rented, I think it was Dark Forces.
Yeah.
With, with fucking Dash Rendar or something like that.
Yep.
And that was the moment where Star Wars became this giant thing to me, of, wait, there's a plot? Wait! So, after that, I was like, oh, shit, dude! So that kind of just, like, laid out that framework for me. And then, like, Star Wars video games became, like, that foundation for me, where it was, like, I didn't really, like, to be honest, like, when it came to, like, the Star Wars movies, same thing, it kind of, like, left the consciousness... It
sat on the back burner.
Yeah.
We were, like, full on EU, always.
I was, like, fucking video games, dude. And then when they announced KOTOR, I was like, wait, I can make my own?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
no! Because I didn't have an Xbox, I didn't know what Jedi Academy was. It's like, but they were like, oh, by the way, it's like 3,000 years prior. I'm like, wait. So you mean I get this whole new story in the Star Wars universe? Yeah. Dude!
I was all about that.
Oh, I was so fucking about that, dude.
Oh my goodness.
And like, the first KOTOR I played, because, again, no Xbox.
I'm starting to remember, is that your first RPG?
Oh, it was, like, my first, not my first RPG. I played, like, you know, Paper Mario, I played, like, JRPGs before that.
First Western RPG.
First Western RPG. So I never played Baldur's Gate. I never played, like, you know, any of, like, the PC ones, because, honestly, like, those were the Western RPGs. Like, you had to play Elder Scrolls or play Baldur's Gate. And then it's like, here comes KOTOR. And my first one was KOTOR 2. And that, I bless every, like, fucking cosmic thing that happened there that was just lined up the planets just right, where it's like, here's KOTOR 2, Joe. And I'm like, oh, shit! So, because, like, this was the game where it's like, you know, it like, KOTOR 1, like, replaying it now as an adult, it's like, oh, okay, this is Star Wars fan fiction. Like, I'm obviously the most powerful fucking being in the universe.
Yeah.
And then KOTOR 2 is, like, it tells you the story of Revan as a bystander.
Yeah.
And it paints Revan as, like, this tragic figure, as this figure who's, like, you know, he was right and he was wrong. He had the good ideas.
He was a person.
He wasn't
this mythical being.
And I gotta correct myself, because I played as a male Mitra Surik. So my Revan was female.
Yeah.
So the entire time I was thinking, Revan's a fucking girl? And then I looked up, like, all the shit, and it's like, she had a female Mandalorian mask. And I was like, that makes so much sense! And then it's like, later, it's like, no, it's canon male, and he wears a female mask. I'm like, oh, that's still kind of cool, but no.
It's not quite what you grew up with.
Lies.
So that became, like, the I guess my benchmark for Star Wars storytelling was, like, this idea of, like, you know, Jedis aren't all that great, because then at the end of, like, KOTOR 2, spoilers, the Jedi try to fucking murder you, and they're just...
Big shocker.
And they're just like, yeah, you're too powerful, and you might turn to the dark side, even though that you demonstrated throughout this entire time, because I was a fucking goody two-shoes. I was only only bad to get the red crystal, and then as soon as I got the red crystal, I was like, that's it, Jedi now.
No, I tried so hard. I replayed KOTOR 1, and I tried so hard to be a bad guy. And as soon as I did something bad, somebody was like, why would you be so mean? I'm like, I'm sorry. I'll never do it again.
Oh my god.
Shame works very well on
like,
you.
I'll never do it again.
But shame and guilt are very, very easy to use.
It didn't work for me until I got the red lightsaber, and at that point I was like, everything was justified. Everything was justified. I needed this. You didn't need this. I needed this. So, then I'm the goody two-shoes, and like, we're gonna fucking kill you. And it's like, wait, what? The Jedi are bad? I thought the Jedi were good. And then it's like, oh god, this is what I want everything in Star Wars to be.
I love the gray area.
Yes.
That's my favorite.
So, that then kind of leads to, now.
Yeah.
So, Star Wars now. We live in a very different Star Wars world now. Obviously, it's owned by Disney. And they blew up the canon, which, like, I think it's a good thing, because it gives a lot of writers...
I think it was a good move for Disney.
It was a good move for Disney, and it gives a lot of new writers new wiggle room to just be like, okay, I don't need to worry about this anymore.
Yeah, I don't need to check 15 obscure novels to make sure that my story fits in here.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, I think that there's still people who are still upset about it, but I think about I think about the fact that those stories still exist. You can still read those books at your leisure, and you know, the old extended universe I like to think as just another universe, a parallel universe
that makes sense.
of events, you know, and so they're just establishing a new universe.
Yeah.
And that your extended universe will always still exist, and you always still get to enjoy the stories. You can just have other stories that may not exactly align with those stories.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I like that, yeah, because a lot of those books that were written for the extended universe were more or less,
Fan fiction?
yes, fan fiction.
Obscure
Yeah.
fan
Fan
fiction.
Obscure fan fiction that someone was allowed to literally publish
And make
as
money off.
canon. As canon.
And like some people may disagree with me here, but they were dry reads.
Yeah.
A
They
lot
were-
of them were.
A lot of them were
I
dry
found
hard.
myself always reading Wikipedia.
Oh,
Yeah.
always.
Always.
Yeah.
Because Wikipedia would always condense it to here are the interesting points. Here are the actual character developing points.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that, a lot of them were dry reads, or they felt too glorifying. They glorified certain characters.
Or
and
worshipped certain
yeah,
characters.
worshipping. Yeah, it was too fanboyish in some of them. So a lot of the comics were really fun and entertaining, but others were just hits and misses. And so having to be confined to that would have been too much for Disney, and just too much for the extended universe to take after a while. It would have been too difficult to write something for the universe without stepping on the toes of
this established canon.
this established half mediocre canon.
Yeah.
But I love that we've gone, like we talked about in KOTOR 2, you get into that gray area that maybe Jedi aren't wholly good, and I've loved that we've come back to that point.
Yeah.
Because, in my opinion, the Jedi were always over-glorified.
Yeah.
You know.
And a lot of the comics and a lot of the books did glorify them.
They were galactic Jesuses,
Yeah.
always. And I'm like, give me some, I need some moral ambiguity here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that, I think Joe and I have always appreciated about, learning about the Siths in
The extended universe at the
the
time.
extended universe, because a lot of them follow the code, and the Sith code, and the Sith code is not, we're just gonna be evil and make empires. It's we're based on passion and, passion and strength, and using our passion as a power.
Yeah.
Instead of the Jedi, who focus on moral purity.
Yeah.
And whereas the Sith are just you know what? You are passionate in what you do, therefore you cannot be wrong. Go do your thing.
You do you.
You do
you.
Yeah, and so what that leads to is a lot of this, moral ambiguity, that there are Siths who are just passionate about certain things.
Yeah.
And they are just following their dreams kind of thing.
Well,
and
they're very much an ends justify the means sort of people.
Yeah.
Where it's despite everything, despite in the case of, I hate to say this, Anakin fucking Skywalker, where it's I fucking murdered some children, but at the end of the day, I made a very safe empire.
Yeah.
So
Brought
I
balance
was
to the Force.
Yes.
trying to save my wife.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work
Didn't
out.
quite work out.
But my children are still alive.
I don't know that. But
Sorry, not to be on a tangent, but man, I don't know how I can ever accept movie Anakin Skywalker.
No one can.
No.
Now I can accept Clone Wars.
Oh.
Anakin
Oh,
Skywalker.
oh, yes.
Oh, we could go on and on about
Yeah,
Clone
so
Wars.
so the Clone Wars, even though there's a lot of it to watch, but it is a worthwhile watch.
Yeah, we see Anakin slowly go through the struggle, slowly see his mind turning.
Yeah.
Whereas,
The movies are a little bit too fast in the
Yeah.
prequels.
it's a bit fast.
It's immediate.
I don't understand why he went to the dark side. Maybe. I get it. The Force is quite strong. It's quite powerful. It's quite tempting.
Yeah.
But I can't buy into that
can't
in
buy it,
episode
yeah.
3. So, but I buy into it. It's like different universes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the Anakin in Clone Wars is completely different from the
Yeah.
Anakin in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking.
Excuse my tangent.
No, you're fine.
I think this podcast right now is all about tangents.
It's all about tangents with this media.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is, we're just talking about how this franchise has affected us and kind of how it ties all of us together. And I think that, like, speaking of Episode 3, I kind of want to talk about how Star Wars has affected us as couples.
Yeah.
Joe and I and Chris and Tasha, we all love Star Wars, and our relationships, I think, have grown stronger because of Star Wars.
We started off with the Star Wars RP, like in fucking Instant Messenger.
Yeah, we when we first started talking to each other, we started role playing, and we had a Star Wars role play.
So yes, you got yeah.
Yeah, so we all bonded over Star Wars.
Definitely.
And Joe and I definitely bonded over, role plays and the prequels. But Chris and Tasha, how did you bond over Star Wars?
It was great because so we got to see The Force Awakens together. Like,
oh yeah.
We went to the midnight premiere together. We cosplayed at this movie theater together, and like that was the first time we got to like do kind of a cosplay thing together. We had always wanted to do it. We had always talked about it. And like we had made these Jedi costumes as like a Halloween thing, and we spent so long on them. I taught Chris how to sew just so he could make his own. Like we had worked so hard on it, and like being able to do this like midnight premiere of something that was like so important to both of us, like together, was this big deal. And I think like we went to see The Last Jedi together. I've been trying really hard to get him to play Coder, but he was a Jedi Academy kid, so that's what he
that's fair
with. And I'm like, all right, I was a Coder kid, so so like it's definitely like we got to hit these kind of like small benchmarks together. Like that was our first time we cosplayed together, and like that was really cool. And like we have these costumes still, and we're like, we need to take this to a con. Like, we need to do this.
We need to do this.
So
eventually, I'm sure when we move to Oregon, there'll be something in Portland.
Well, you're gonna live like at least somewhere close to California. So
or California.
You could go to San Diego Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm. We both got new cars this past year. I have a Rebel logo on mine. He's got an Empire logo on his.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of become this thing that we can enjoy together.
Right.
Which is really nice.
And on another slight side tangent, my brother and my nephew were dropping me off at Tasha's house. And Tasha's car was there.
My car's parked in the road.
Yeah, her car's parked in the road. My nephew, he sees the Rebel logo on Tasha's car, and he recognizes it.
Oh,
he recognizes it. This kid is 7 years old, about to turn 8.
Yeah,
and he recognizes the Rebel logo.
Ah.
And he's absolutely in love with it. He's like he talks to my brother. He's like Dad, look at that car over there. Not knowing that it's Tasha's.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know it's my car. Like, and he's just like, look, that's the Star Wars logo, and he's like so excited about it. And
like, God,
it's so great.
Like, it's so great that like this kind of franchise can really just like ignite something within like children and just kind of like push them down this path. Whether it be a dark one or not, we're not exactly sure. But it pushes them down this path where it's like they're very passionate, they're very excited about like the things that they like, and they're like, I want, like, hopefully, a lot of times they're like, I want to create something, or I want to make this community better, or or I take something from this media that it teaches me a valuable lesson.
Yeah, what I love about, I think, the Star Wars universe and like the fandom is that it's very welcoming, and like you can be super casual and like just have seen the movies and be like, oh yeah, I like Star Wars, I'm gonna buy something, I'm gonna buy a coffee mug, I'm gonna buy a Darth Vader coffee mug because I like him,
right?
But you can also be like super into it, where we were talking about like being like full like extended universe, like you can go as deep as like you want to go, and like people are usually like really nice about it and are willing to like help you learn all of these extra things, I had a friend of mine who was really into the clones.
Yeah.
Like, that was his thing. And, like, he taught me, like, so much about Republic Commandos. That was his thing.
Yes.
So, but, like, all this stuff, like, I never knew.
Yeah.
That was, like, this makes the story so much better.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good story to start out with, but now, like, it's so much better that you know all these things.
So kind of like, I guess, tying that together as far as, like, you know, the extended universe, kind of where we came from, and then, of course, like, Star Wars as it is now. Like, the fact that Disney did blow up the canon, like, you know, one, to go ahead and make new stories for a new generation of Star Wars fans who are going to come into this and not going to be the people who grew up with, like, an N64 or something like that. It's going to be like, okay, now we have this new generation. I kind of conflicted. Because part of me is, like, you know, this new generation, at least for the most part, they either grew up with, like, the Clone Wars, which was fantastic. And then when it came to the games, you had The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
The
Force
Unleashed.
Yep.
The Force Unleashed. God, what the fuck? The Force Unleashed. Or you had, we talked about Battlefront. You know our feelings about Battlefront, listeners.
Yeah.
You had, you know, new generation Battlefront.
Yep.
And the other thing is that, like, well, I feel like kind of like the extended universe, unfortunately, is kind of taking this hit in certain ways. It's like, I feel like there are less stories out there now that kind of hit like that bone where it's just like, bung, and it's like, oh shit, this place is big.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you have the Poe Dameron comics, but it's like that's still tied to the movies, as opposed to, like, this is a real place that people live in.
Yeah.
Now, it's like the movies, though, have taken, like, this big spike.
Yeah.
And, like, my personal feelings about, like, the latest movie, The Last Jedi, was that it's phenomenal. Like,
Yeah.
I really, really liked it. I have problems with it.
Yes, it
But
was not perfect.
It wasn't
but it was
perfect.
Good.
But it's, like, I will go on record saying it's my favorite Star Wars. Like, it beat out
Yeah.
Empire for me.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Like, and the main reason why is kind of going back to what we were talking about with Anakin. With this, you know, this really, like, you know, heel turn, like, characterization where it's like, you were a good guy, but now you want to...
2 seconds ago, but now you're murdering children?
Yeah, like, with, like, the kind of characterizations that they do here in, The Last Jedi, where it feels consistent.
Yeah.
And, like, Rose aside.
Yeah.
Rose aside. She's in her own special box.
The shoehorned romance can sit in its own box over there.
Over there. That listen, listeners, that's my main problem. That one right there. I love you, Rose. I
really loved you
as
up.
a person.
I really loved you literally up until you did the thing. I have to say, my favorite thing is that the actress of Rose actually is a
Storm
Pilot fan. Someone who actually shipped Poe Dameron and Finn.
Yes.
So, like, even she's like, listen.
Even she's not about that romance.
Yeah.
So, but
brutally honest Boone here.
Mhm.
Nobody really appreciates Rose's sister.
What's this? Oh,
In the beginning.
In the beginning.
Yeah,
that's
She
true.
Sacrificed herself.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
God, she was really underutilized character there.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah, that's the thing, is that there was so much potential with Rose's character, but then we found out that literally her character was made just to shoehorn in this romance with Finn, and it was like, was this really necessary?
So,
Rian Johnson, was this really necessary?
honestly, but, like, the characterizations like Rey, and Finn, like, especially Finn, like, he actually has this, like, this fantastic character arc where it's about to conclude, and Rose is like, fuck that, but, like, he really just had this,
I wanted it so bad.
like, Finn, the cynical part of me, okay, so to kind of just, like, compile this, because I realize, like, I'm just, like, stuttering myself here, is that, like, you know, Finn, up until that point, he really does, like, you know, characterize himself as basically a coward.
Yeah.
He's very much in it for his own self-interest.
Yeah, he's trying to escape.
Yeah, he's trying to escape, and he, like, the whole reason why he even goes with the Rebel plan in Force Awakens is because I need to save Rey.
Yeah.
My one friend. I need to save her. And it's like, that's the whole reason why he does that. And in the beginning of The Last Jedi, like, when he's about to be like, I'm going to jump ship. And everybody's like, why the fuck would he do that? He was a good guy before. He did the whole plan. It's like, he did that for Rey.
Yeah.
And even now, he's staying consistent to this. He's going to leave. And they're like, why didn't he change? It's like, it's 2 minutes after the last movie.
Yeah.
So...
It's his story arc was believable.
Yeah.
As a human would react in situations like that.
Yeah, and as much as I feel like, the complaints about Canto Blight are warranted in a lot of ways, what I feel like is that really was important to Finn's character to see, like,
yes.
how far and insidious, like, this sort of thing is.
That there's not necessarily a good side and a bad side.
And also that, like, you can do your part. And when he's about to go sacrifice himself and really have this moment of just, like, listen, like, I understand now. I understand why people sacrifice their lives for this, because it means something.
Yeah, it means something to him.
Yeah. And he gained that kind of meaning, through the movie. And that's the thing, is that, like, a lot of characters gained meaning in this movie, and that's and even characters who were smaller parts, like Holdo. Yeah, Holdo.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore her character. This, feminist empowerment in this commander. Who, she's, like, I honestly loved her character and her kind of combat with Poe Dameron, because it really, it was like, here is this woman who is not afraid to be a woman, to be, pretty, but then also a leader. And, she didn't have to prove herself. She knew who she was and she knew what she needed to do. And honestly, even though she was only in this movie, it was very episodic in the right way that Star Wars should be. She is this one character, and she is here for this movie, and she, over the course of the movie, has this turn and has this development, and in the end, sacrifices herself for everyone, and finds her meaning in literally turning the ship around and sending it into hyperspace, into the giant ship in the most spectacular fashion ever. And that's the thing, is my takeaway on The Last Jedi is this was just, if nothing else, a fun effing movie. It was.
I'll agree with that. It was an incredibly fun movie.
Yeah, there are definitely gripes to have with this movie, and that is fine. But to walk away from this movie and say that everything about it sucked, I mean, but did you see that explosion though?
But did you actually watch
there were so many good laughs, there were so many charming moments, there were so many big powerful set pieces. Like, you can't not love this. At least enjoy it.
and let me tell you, is that this movie, not everybody likes it.
Right.
Not everybody likes it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like some of it. I don't like some of it.
Yeah.
I am always going to be comforted by the fact that there will be more.
Yes.
And some people don't like this.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think that Disney is going to oversaturate the market, oversaturate Star Wars.
Yeah.
That might be true.
Yeah.
But I always have, since I was little, since I was a teenager, since I was a preteen, whatever, I have always wanted to see more Star Wars. And now I have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Every single year now, there is going to be something Star Wars that comes out by Disney. I was just appreciating the fact if I got one Star Wars per 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I get to have Star Wars every single year. And there's going to be Star Wars that I'm going to like. There's going to be Star Wars that I'm going to hate. But you know what? That's life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's life. And I don't know if Disney's doing this, but the writers and the creators behind Star Wars now are doing this, and is that they're turning Star Wars into life.
Yeah.
They're making us love it. They're making us hate it. They're polarizing everything. And I personally think that is a good thing because it makes it feel more lifelike.
Yeah. Well, and they're not afraid to tell a story rather than just worshipping characters, kind of like the extended universe used to do. And when I feel that people talk about how Disney's going to oversaturate the market, I think about the fact that Star Wars has always been that.
Oversaturated.
That's the thing. There's a lot of Star Wars fans who are upset about the fact that there's so many kiddish things about Star Wars, and I'm like, but Star Wars was literally created to sell children's toys. That's how Lucas made bank, was literally only getting the profits from merchandising, and made millions upon billions of dollars in just merchandise.
Yep.
And like, it's made to sell toys. It's made to be profitable in that way. And, the extended universe has always existed to make lots and lots of different Star Wars things. So we're just getting more of that, but now with with writers who are not afraid to tell a story.
So, kind of connecting that back to what we were talking about earlier, which is, back in the days where we had to seek out video game shit. Where, it was only available at this specific Toys R Us. Now, Star Wars is everywhere. Star Wars is, and granted, it was everywhere before, but now it's even just more prevalent.
Yeah.
And now it's also just more in vogue. It's just more acceptable to just be like, I'm going to talk about Kylo Ren for a while, and you can join in with me, and that will be great. Or, I am going to get a decked out fucking, Stormtrooper outfit, and I'm going to wear this to Halloween, and everybody's not going to be like, why'd you spend so much money? It's going to be like, fuck yeah, dude, you look awesome!
Yeah.
So, I think that's really awesome and cool, and I think, like you said, Boone, is that, it being polarizing, it being, I'm gonna connect this once, and I will do this once more. This is episode 10? I think it's episode 10.
Yeah.
I think so.
90 episodes from now. It's like Gundam. Gundam has so many fucking different series that do different things, and people love it, people hate it. I hate Unicorn, I love Iron Blooded Orphans. It's and that's just it. It's okay, because it's there's something for me there. And I think, when it comes to Star Wars, what people want is, I want it all to be something that I like. And they can't really deal with the fact that it's, there's parts of it that aren't great, and I have to kind of ignore. In my case, I have to ignore KOTOR 1 and be like, KOTOR 2 was the superior KOTOR. But, that's just kind of, I feel it's this growing pains of, the fact that this franchise is growing, it is evolving, and it is becoming more inviting. And it's the same thing with kind of how we talked about nerd culture in earlier episodes, which is that it was this really niche thing. It was this really the thing that was kind of closed off, and it became our special thing. It became part of our identities, and it could still be part of our identities, but that's just it. It's a part.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily devalue anybody by saying that, hey, listen, you, black gay dude. Yes, you, come here. I want you to write a Star Wars story. I want you to make a Star Wars story that's for you, and for people like you. And that is awesome, because then it's some people may not like that story, but then a lot of people will.
Yeah.
And that's true.
And I think, overall, that's kind of the state of Star Wars as it is right now. I really do enjoy that The Last Jedi is very polarizing. I do enjoy that it's kind of, inspiring either, people from the opposite side of the spectrum to be like, I'm going to create my own Star Wars story, or I'm going to try my best.
Yeah.
Or you have people on the opposite side of the spectrum where it's wow, this story really spoke to me. I'm going to try my best to get into Star Wars and, create a Star Wars story. And just relating it all back, because it turns out Sonic and Star Wars come together like fucking peanut butter and jelly, apparently. It's this idea of opening it up. And that's really what it all I feel like this all comes down to.
I think there's something for everyone there.
There will be a Star Wars for everyone. Whether your personal favorite Star Wars is A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back, or maybe you're the person who really enjoys the new Star Wars, or maybe you're a person who enjoys the extended universe, or maybe you are that one person who really did like Phantom Menace. You go, person. you go.
You.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, also, your Sonic OCs are valid and they're completely canon now. I feel like that's good. That's a good note to leave out on.
Yep.
So that has been Paragade After Hours. We have gone on for about an hour and 15 minutes.
Good job.
Nice.
Hell yeah. So, Maya,
Yes.
where can people find you?
I'm working on getting a Twitch streaming setup going. So hopefully we'll see that in the near future on my Ecology at Twitch, also on Twitter and YouTube, maybe someday, hopefully.
I'll get you set up on that, bud. And Tasha, can we find you anywhere on the internet?
You can. Usually it'll be on your chat board.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, and people can find me, and people can find Tasha and I both on CNT Photo, where we do photography, where we will futurely do photography discussions.
Shameless plug.
No, please. Plug.
This is the shameless plug hour. Come on.
Yeah, and you can also find me personally on YouTube, which should be Base Spoon 1. I haven't put out anything in a while.
I think I'm Van Rand Sandwich.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and you
Van
can
Rand
find me
Sandwich.
anywhere by Van Rand Sandwich.
Just Google
It's
Van
a-
Rand Sandwich. And
It's a
you're
very
fine.
specific username that only you have.
Yep.
Listen, you're much better than Alex, who has gone into our Hall of Fame of best usernames, which is AskJobRimHat.
Good.
And that's how you can find him in literally every social platform.
God, I love Alex.
Good job, Alex.
Good job, Alex.
I've never met you, Alex, but good
Quality
job.
work.
Oh my god. And then, of course, me, Joe. You can find me at Just Joe Stars on Twitch, Just Joe Let's Play on Twitter, and then Just Joe Stars on YouTube. And then, of course, here at Paragade and Paragade After Hours. So, with that being said, thank you all so much for listening. And as always remember, tip your waiters 50%. Good night.
Bye.